Fantastic. This man is, first tell people that we started together. First tell people.
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, guys, they don't rate me. Look at the people I started with, Vian.
Oh, real funny. Real
Top
funny.
lawyers.
It started with fraudsters.
I was waiting for you to mention something like that. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, well, at the end of the show, we'll see if it's indeed true.
We will find out. Let me start right here. Yeah. There's so many confusing facts in this episode.
Yes.
First, explain to our viewers what the Uganda Sports Union
Please.
really is. Who are these people?
Okay, I would start by saying the Uganda Sports Union are not fraudsters. Let's
Right.
clear the air there. So the Uganda Sports Union is an incorporated trust. So basically, it's a trust with members and beneficiaries of the trust. So let's clear the air.
Yeah.
It's a trust body, and it's a private sports entity that was inaugurated in 1956. So that is over, 70 years ago. So it predates even the National Council of Sports. So essentially, the Uganda Sports Union started out as an entity that was supposed to give African sportsmen a venue to play sports, showcase their games, because at that time, there was not very many places that Ugandans could play sports. So ideally, it was just to be a venue for the sportsmen to go and play. And that's how you see these associations develop their sports in that area, because that was the original intention. So that is the Uganda Sports Union in essence. It's an incorporated trust, and it got its certificate in 1957, 56,
So,
yes.
Let me get this right, because I'm confused midway. So what exactly is its mandate under its own leadership? What is its mandate? What exactly was it here to do specifically? Because I hear what you're saying, but please explain that for us.
Yes, thank you. So essentially, think of it as a private club. Private members club. We come together and we say we want somewhere we're going to play sports for our members. We get a lease from KCC then, and then we develop the land. It was developed by private private members of the association. At that time, there were Meta, Madvani, the Goan community. The records are there. So, and even prominent Ugandans at that time also did contribute towards those facilities that you see on that land. So essentially, it's like you'd look at Kampala Club, but the members are sportsmen and people who subscribe to the union. So that is the Uganda Sports Union. It's not a government entity. It's not anything of that sort.
Yeah.
Yes.
And eventually, and by the way, I could be jumping a few facts here, but I shall get all the facts.
Yes,
because I'm trying to establish the basics. So eventually, you owned the land in Lugogo.
Yes, the titles were issued in 1956, 57. So the titles have been in Uganda Sports Union's name since 1956. So let's correct the minister's statement of fraudsters. They don't come on land with titles that were issued in the 50s. So essentially, when they were issued, there were a couple of titles, and one of them that was a recent one that was unfortunately transferred to National Council of Sports was issued in 1957. And it was in the name of the registered trustees of the Uganda Sports Union. So that title was in the name of the trust. And it was just changed, I think, on 14th December. As far as the latest search we did, it was changed on 14th December. And that's the picture that was shockingly awakened when we saw the minister handing over the titles to the First Lady.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, as I'm going to play the video now for the minister, so we can have these two gentlemen jump into the discussion, I'm thinking you're saying or trying to say that the change of title was illegal. The Uganda Sports Union never gave over the authority to change the title.
Essentially, the only person who can determine that will be a court to say that it was illegal. But yes, it wasn't done the right way.
Okay.
It was essentially, it was done through underhand methods that essentially, I think probably the minister is unaware of, because probably he's a busy man and hasn't paid attention to the finer detail.
Right.
So when we do perhaps give him notice, he'll go back, look at his facts, and probably come back on the screen and realistically apologize.
Okay. Let's listen into the State Sports Minister, Honorable Peter Ogwang. There was a presser, well, not a presser, an exclusive interview he had in his office with NBS Sport this week, and he was asked about that contentious issue. Who owns the land in Lugogo, where now Suma is supposed to come and construct the huge Kampala arena, but then this Uganda Sports Union is saying, that's our land, you talk to us first. But let's see what he said about that contention.
I think I'm now 1 year and maybe 4 or 5 months here of getting to 1.5 years. The matter of the title of the SKS Bell Road Plot 10 is a matter which has been here since 2018. And specifically, I want to thank my dear mom, the First Lady, and the Minister of Education and Sports. ever since she took over as a Minister of Education and Sports, she was given information regarding the sector, and she has been following this matter of that title herself in her own handwriting, communicating to my former predecessor, Hamson Obua, and communicating to me when I took over the office, and the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. So I want to confirm that the land in question is land which belongs to National Council of Sports. And whoever who claims and purports he has a title is actually mistaken. As government, we don't argue, but we have our facts. And I want to say, please don't waste your time on our land. I know what is in this city here. Whenever people see a project coming up, people want to try to bring in all sorts of stories, to try to think that they can be able to say, for us to say that, okay, you come, we talk, and we compensate you. Forget it. This land we are talking about is our land, and the Ministry of Education and Sports and the National Council of Sports has secured the title for that purpose. And we are moving ahead to develop that project. Number two, for how long are we going to be laughed at as a country? Finally, I want to thank my president. It's not that the NRM government has not been thinking of investing in the sports infrastructure. There have been other priorities, and I always want to talk about where I come from. Some of us were insecure for quite a long. So much of the resources which should be invested in infrastructure, the priorities have been, can you secure the country? Now that the country has been secured, the priorities are, how do we now begin to put in money in sports infrastructure, which for me is a blessing, particularly at this time, when we have quite many young people, when we have too many talents, when we have, that's why I'm happy that the council I have appointed has a lot of work to do. So for the fraudsters, I call them fraudsters, who think you have ownership of the plot 10, I wish you well. It's not Ogwang who has been following this issue. Ogwang found it on the table. Number two, it's the minister herself. And you know, with my senior minister, she has a certain ideal she believes in. Very respectable, very honest, truthful. So you a fraudster who is out there thinking that you can take away this land, I'm sorry for you. You don't waste your time.
Yeah, there you go. That is the statement from the State Sports Minister, Honorable Peter Ogwang. Gents, I really want to bring you in, but can I have Patrick just respond to that statement first, and then we can have more questions. A fraudster, he says.
Wow, those are strong words for a minister to use, but I'll give him a benefit of doubt, because essentially ministers deal with very many issues, and he may not have looked at the finer detail in this regard. So he may be under perhaps a misguided perception that what he has been presented is the ultimate truth. And it's a good thing that Pressbox perhaps has given us an opportunity to enlighten him and give him probably something to think about. So no, Uganda Sports Union is not something that has been formed to fight the development. If anything, Uganda Sports Union is what has added value to sports. For so long, that was the only facility. National Council of Sports has existed since 1964. And there is no facility they can point to. I can give you on record that at the inauguration of the of the National Council of Sports in 1964, they were given about 12 acres on 4th Street, plot 2 to 20, 4th Street. And those are the records. Right now, if you go there, I don't know what buildings are there, but there are no fields, there's nothing. So if we are talking about a record on not developing sports, the Uganda Sports Union put up those structures with its own funds and its own membership funds. The National Council of Sports had nothing to do with it. So for the minister to stand up and say, these are fraudsters, if anything, is very offensive.
So you're saying the structures on that plot are owned by Uganda Sports Union? Were put up by you guys?
Every structure on that land, the cricket oval, the tennis courts, that place was basically a swamp. Yeah. So all those facilities were put up by the Uganda Sports Union.
So yes. Of course, the thing is, the bigger question for everyone, and for many, including myself, is who exactly, I know you explained a bit, but where are these members of the Uganda Sports Union? People would want to know who exactly they're, because on paper you talk about Cricket Association, You talk about
Boxing.
hockey and boxing and all. Those guys, we haven't seen them come out to say anything. So the question is, who exactly currently is part of the... If they called you guys, who goes for those meetings? Do people know who exactly they are? Because it sounds like there's a group of guys who are talking from the background. No wonder the minister says, and what he said there, there's a bit of truth to it, that when there's a new project in Uganda, there are always people who spring up and they want to get some compensation, even when they don't deserve to. So you wouldn't blame me, because we haven't seen, apart from yourself, and release statements, notices in the papers. That's all we see. People would want to know, where are these members? And what do they do currently? Can they stand up and say, these are our buildings, we have been part of this, you can't take our land?
Unfortunately, perhaps it also comes from the fact that there is a lot of ignorance about the Uganda Sports Union, which is perhaps what I'm trying to do to enlighten people. But essentially, it's like asking me who are the members of Kampala Club, you see? Do you know all of them? No. So essentially, that is a private members affair. But essentially, it's a trust body. A trust has trustees who basically represent the trust and hold the assets on behalf of the association members. The trustees have been on record and they're known. You will know that there are 4 trustees currently, and those are the people who basically the property is vested in and who would fight for the interests of the members. The members basically constitute probably members who are interested in sports, like you and me, who subscribe to the union. And that can be a bevy of many people. So the trustees are the people that you'll see because it's vested in them.
So would you mind sharing who those trustees
are? Oh, yes, it's on public record. The nominated trustees currently are the chairman of the Trust Association is Eli Mukasa, Mr. Eli Mukasa. He's the chairman. The vice chairman is Owechitiba Honorable Rajni Taylor. The honorary secretary is myself, and the treasurer of the association is Mukesh Shukla. Yes, so
Clear
those are the
names.
trustees. Clear names, and they're on record for that.
Okay, we're going to come back to that because
Yes.
Tuka Brown obviously has more questions. But over to you, Vianney. We are in a situation where this gentleman is here and is sticking to his side of the story. And he's saying the Uganda Sports Union owns this land. Any transaction must come through us. But the same situation, and this Uganda, has pictures of an official land title being handed over to the Minister of Education and Sport. Now, if he's right, wow, then how did it get there?
Well, I think it's a known story when it comes to Ugandan sport, or even Uganda generally as a public setup, that you always find such kind of controversies panning out. If you remember just a couple of years ago where we had the issue of FUFA and its trustees, and then who had to have, who was the right trustee. And if you look at the registered trustees initially, they were not FUFA in Mengo. And there was all that controversy as to whether FUFA in Mengo was legitimate, illegitimate, and whatnot. And it went on and on and on and on and on and on. So if it gets to this kind of situation, I'll tell you that I am least surprised, because these are the kind of things that I've seen happening in Ugandan sport, or even generally in public, where you find that somebody owns a property, but then their title has been transferred, because I don't think it's going to be the first time that we've heard of, say, titles being transferred
when
to
you
somebody.
have no idea.
When you have no idea.
Yeah.
I think it is something that is commonplace in Uganda, and I think that as this story continues to evolve, we shall get to know how it got to this point, because I think those are the details that are going to be unearthed eventually.
Yeah, let me ask you, Patrick, as the Uganda, and listen, I know now this is going to some kind of court.
Yes.
So there will be a decision made at some point. What was that word when issues are in court? Tuka, you have forgotten. You cannot discuss issues that are in court.
Sub judice.
Sub judice.
I'm disappointed that I taught you a word that you have
It's sub
forgotten
judice.
now.
I'm
Yes.
telling you, the word is sub judice. Has there been, for the sake of the public that is closely following this story, because the Kampala Arena is quite exciting to Ugandan
Yeah, it
sports
is.
lovers, has there been some kind of discussions between the Uganda Sports Union and the National Council of Sports? Well, you can go back since 1964. Did they ever try to own it? Or a bit more recently, when all this happened, what has the relationship then been like?
You see, unfortunately, I don't know why the National Council of Sports has taken the route that it has chosen to take, but essentially, it's been involved in a whole. I don't want to use the word. It's the National Council of Sport has engaged in nefarious schemes to defeat the interest of the Uganda Sports Union. Essentially, the Uganda Sports Union.
Just go on.
All right, let me go on. Yes. So the Uganda Sports Union, the Uganda Sports Union essentially had title to the land.
Yeah.
Okay. The titles were registered in its name. The National Council of Sports comes a couple of years later and decides to sue Mega Industries, stating that it is the bona fide owner of that land and all that. Then they get into a consent judgment. I think you may have it on record. They get into a consent judgment with Mega Industries, saying that Mega Industries takes the parking lot, the land opposite the arena, which was supposed to be the parking lot, and then the National Council of Sports takes plot 2 to 10. But unfortunately, when you're involved in a nefarious scheme, you probably make a few mistakes. In that same consent judgment, which was entered in court, they put that it was subject to the interest of the Uganda Sports Union. Why? Because the land was for the Uganda Sports Union, and that is what they got in. Unfortunately, we don't agree with that because we were never part of it, but essentially that is what they do in 2005. Okay, get into that, and that's how they get a title to part of the land. The last bit was plot 10, which they recently saw the First Lady receiving. Okay, so that was the final plot, which was still registered in Uganda Sports Union's land. We went to court for that. Okay, actually, National Council of Sports applied for the land to be vested in its name by virtue of the National Council of Sports Act, saying that by law the land should be in its name. And moreover, it was in the name of Uganda, the registered trustees of the Uganda Sports Union. So what did we do? When we got wind of it, again, we were never party to it. We applied to be a part of the suit. Okay, and when we were granted permission to be part of the suit, National Council of Sports claim was dispelled by court. Court actually said this is Uganda Sports Union's land. You cannot divest them of that. It's on record. Justice Kaitrim, a beautiful ruling, said no, you haven't. And they're alleging so many things, that Uganda Sports Union is defunct, it doesn't exist, the land should be given to them. Now we have that court decision which we brought to the notice of the Commissioner Land Registration of recent, when they went again to apply for that land to be vested in them. Can you imagine? There's a court decision, you go to the Commissioner Land Registration and apply that the same land, which was of course given to us by, confirmed that is ours by court. By court, yeah. They got to apply again that it be given to them through a vesting order. So we're shocked. We're not even given a hearing. So we were shocked as you are when on the other day we see titles being handed over. Yeah. So that is the position we're in. Registered proprietor, titles are given out on TV, and the minister calls us fraudsters.
So I want to, that is your relationship with the National Council of Sports. Now, first of all, you've spoken a bit of so many legal things, but I'm hoping the viewer is following.
Oh, I can see your posting, actually. That is the suit that they filed.
Yeah, so before I ask you about your relationship or what you do with the Lands Ministry, then I'll go to Tuka Brian. Tuka, I want to let you know that nefarious, because you didn't understand the word. The viewers, I don't want us to leave Tuka Brian behind.
I hope you typed the right word, because I'm not so sure about your abilities to spell.
Oh, wow.
Tuka, nefarious, typically an action or activity, wicked or criminal. Am I right?
That is it.
I'm telling you. So Tuka Brian, I hope now we are all on the same page. Okay, so let's move on. So that is your relationship then with the National Council of Sports?
No, that's not our relationship. Actually, if anything, if you've noticed, we have tried to be subtle, hoping that eventually the National Council of Sports will see reason.
Yeah.
Okay, but of course it's now begun, you can see what is happening.
Fight, yeah.
It's not even a fight, it's more or less a land grab.
So how do you guys, because again, I'm trying to understand firstly government structure and legal framework at that level. Then what kind of relationship would you have with the Ministry of Lands? Because the Ministry of Lands is supposed to have the title.
Yes.
Under the Uganda Sports Union's name.
And they did.
So have you had a discussion with the Ministry of Lands? Because how does it then change names to National Council of Sports to be handed over?
I think you'll have to call the Commissioner Land Registration and ask him how he did that. Because essentially, the National Council of Sports made an application to the Ministry of Lands for land to be vested in it, for our land to be vested in them. And you know what they stated in that application? They said that we had sold them the land. Oh. That's the claim. It's on public record. And I think you're being given view to that. So they stated that the Uganda Sports Union had sold them the land. And we are surprised that the commissioner, recently, that was on, the decision to vest the land was on 14th December.
2023.
That's when, 2023. and we had no idea about it, essentially because they vested it. They advertised and we objected, saying we have never sold that land. The claim by National Council of Sports is, of course, fraudulent, and we're not privy to that. Hoping that the commissioner, and you saw the caveat emptor, we also brought them to, which we did put in the papers. But surprisingly, the commissioner land registration did vest the land and transfer it to them. So without our input, so our objections were not heard.
I just have just one question to ask. Actually, two. First, how did National Council of Sports get onto that land in the first place when a Uganda Sports Union was in existence? And then secondly, have you been reaping dividends off that land for the last, say, 70 years since you guys owned it? And we've watched so much sport on it for so many years. Have you been reaping dividends off it? And then how did National Council of Sports become a custodian there?
Okay, so well, it goes back, we go back into antiquity history. So essentially what happens is National Council of Sports, like I told you, was given to plots 2 to 20, 4th Street, as it's when it was inaugurated in 1964. 4th Street, I think industrial area, that side. Anyway, it doesn't exist because they never used it, and there was re-entry by KCC, and then lots of things have happened. I don't know anything about National Council of Sports. They can explain that better. But that was what was given to them.
By
about
government.
12 acres. Yes, they got a lease.
Which year was that?
They got it in 1964, about then, for 89 years.
Right.
So that was their land, which they should have done all these things, arenas, everything they want to put up, really, because that was their land. I don't even know if they have an idea that they did have it, but essentially it's on record. They can follow up. So what happens is when the National Council of Sports didn't have office space, they were basically a body that existed but didn't have anywhere they were supposed to be situated. The Uganda Sports Union, of course, saying, looking at it, that time the John Nagendas, Rajni Taylor said, come on, gentleman agreement, you can use our facility, gave them office space, and they started utilizing it.
Since we all love sports.
Yeah, since we love, there's no fault at it. So that's how they started. Now, the quid pro quo was that the National Council of Sports would pay the ground rent on behalf.
That was in the 70s.
Oh yeah, 70s. They would pay ground rent on behalf of the Uganda Sports Union, and they did honor it. During the time of AKPM Lutaya, when he was General Secretary, they paid the ground. They were paying, and they were even asking the Lands Ministry, please give us that. They were paying the ground rent. You know, so there was no fight. The receipts are there, you can see. So what happens now when... unfortunately, when General Secretary Ali Gawesa comes in, for him, he decides now we need to own the land. They came up with the nefarious plot.
Ali Gawesa.
Yes, that's when they started all these schemes, 2005 to now. And you've seen the subsequent whole thing. They turned it around. So the land has always been, there was no question because all of us were where it was in the interest of sports. So when we started having these things of evicting, I don't know, hockey, cricket, that's when the trustees said, no, I think we are not on the same wavelength. Let's get back our land and run it. So let it not be tainted that we are not interested in the development.
So Tuka, it's more of I invite you to my house,
and then
have
you
lunch,
yes,
and then I
take
invite
it
you
over.
again the next day. Then on the third day you say, but this is my table.
exactly.
Yeah, but you know, as we go on, I think when Patrick continues explaining, a couple of guys are just going to continue getting more lost because the language the man is using is a bit tough for because some of the people who are watching are senior for dropouts, so they clearly they might not get it. But
yes,
I think for me what's most important is here.
yeah.
What exactly is Uganda Sports Union looking for? What happens? The fact that matters are the way they are, that the Minister of Education and Sports, that's the senior minister, the First Lady, handed over the titles to the junior minister, state minister in charge of sports.
Yeah.
The titles. They claim they have the titles. You've heard the minister saying that. What does the Uganda Sports Union want? What happens the fact that that has happened now?
Okay, now, you know, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Oh.
So essentially, the good intention is the arena that they want to build.
Which we can't wait to see. We really want
Which we're excited about.
Right.
But the reality is, you can't get to the arena by, trampling due process and, defeating other people's interests. That's not the right way things are done. So one, let's get it right. The land does not belong to National Council of Sports. It belongs to the Uganda Sports Union. So whatever has to be done needs to have the input of the Uganda Sports Union. That's one. So National Council of Sports cannot claim what's not its property. Okay? So we are saying, one, if anything, we are the people who have had the asset. We developed it. Sportsmen have benefited. All the tennis people, all these young people who go to play hockey, it's because of the Uganda Sports Union. And we're saying it's a good thing. But you're not going to bring all those good things by defeating the interest of the true owners. The true owners have to have a decision on their land. And let no one lie to you that this arena is something picked out of Mars. These things can be done by us. If anything, this is a sign that we could do this as the Uganda Sports Union. We did that. So it's not something we're speaking about in abstract. Yeah. The facility exists. You've seen it for all the years it has been there. That's Uganda Sports Union. So if we want to get into development, we believe the Uganda Sports Union can develop its premises. Yeah. I mean, we did this.
Have an input on the development.
No, we can develop our premises. We don't need to get SUMA or anybody. We can do that. We can develop it.
That's a different angle to this whole discussion then.
So we can do that. Yeah. So it's not looking at Uganda Sports Union as trying to defeat the development. That cricket over, all that was Uganda Sports Union. Yeah. So it's not that we don't have plans to do all that. The question is, let it not be painted that we have failed and government is the sole person that can do it. We can partner with them. We can do a lot of things. But essentially, Uganda Sports Union has to be recognized as the true owners and that everything is subject to their interest. Yeah. Let National Council of Sports stop spoiling. Basically, by the way, they are soiling the good name of the First Lady, if at all. Because I don't believe she would be privy to all this. As a minister, you expect things to be done and then push forward your agenda. Right. So I don't think she's privy to all these nefarious schemes. Because if this is brought to you as a minister, even if it is the minister who called us fraudsters,
right,
they would explain to you and say, look, there's a trust. Yeah. Even if the trust is not there, they're beneficiaries of the trust. Who are they? You'd be forced to have notice that there are people who actually benefit. And you see, these facilities were contributed to. The people are there, the Madvanis, the Metas, the Goan community, the Indian. How will they look at the trustees when we don't show value for what we own?
So that means, Patrick, if this goes on for a while, this push and shove against government, which is authority, the eventual discussion could be around, so let's lease it to you again. Go on and do what you want, let's lease it to you again. It's a possibility for a discussion in the future.
No, actually what we are looking to as Uganda Sports Union is, one, recognize our interest as Uganda Sports Union. Right. Two, give us opportunity to deal with our property as owners. And let's see, I mean, let the world see. If we could do that facility in the 50s, 60s.
That was built in which year?
Those things came up in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yes, they have been there for as long as now. Yeah. We have not added. And you can see National Council of Sports has been on it for, I mean, okay, we invited them in.
Since 64.
Yeah. No, we invited them in. And, well, there have been bad tenants, if at all, because essentially that is what it looks like. Yeah.
But Vianney asked something, whether you've been benefiting from that facility.
No, we have not.
Why? But
when you're the owners.
If you're the genuine owners, one,
yes.
Why aren't you benefiting? The other thing is, of course, you're saying you have interest, you want to develop sport. When all these things have been happening, for example, the cricket over being messed with concerts and stuff and cricket association complaining, how come you guys were quiet?
No, we did react to it, but perhaps it has been in the background. The reactions have been there, and that is why he's telling you that it has been on the table since 2018. That's when we got wind of the fact that these people are trying to actually take over the land. That's when we actually got notice, when we started the fight over Plot 10, because now it became an ownership. So you see, you can't fight all the battles. First, get back your land, and then you can deal with the rest. But essentially, for benefiting from the land, we essentially had agreed that, National Council of Sports would pay the ground rent, and then the sportsmen would have access to the facilities. And they would pay fees, which National Council of Sports essentially to raise it, because it wasn't, money to maintain the facility and to keep it going. We didn't have a problem. Like I said, it was a gentleman's agreement. Yeah. But then the gentleman we agreed with now decides to say, you know what, these guys are probably not so serious. Let's take over the whole place, which is not right.
The trickiest part of this is obviously the National Council of Sports will have to have their lawyers as well. I'm not sure if they will respond to this, since there's a discussion and a decision to be made from somewhere. But Vianney, this leaves us now, well, in a tricky situation. By the way, we don't believe in what Patrick is saying. We are not lawyers. We don't believe in what this man is saying. As a matter of fact, what most people believe in now is that there's an official picture of the minister getting the land titles. So for them, they are saying the land titles have officially been...
What are you believing in?
You don't believe?
I believe that
the minister?
That the show called Press Box runs every Sunday at 9.
You
I don't
believe
know
it?
why you're trying
So you say you don't believe Patrick. You believe the minister?
No.
That Patrick and his group
Because
are
you've got to believe
fraudsters?
somebody.
I'm just saying, well, there
You
we
have to
are.
believe somebody.
I'm simply trusting authority and saying that by the time the titles change names to the National Council of Sports, by the time the permanent secretary is delivering them to the minister, you get what I mean? By the
Yeah,
time
but-
the state minister is picking them, as a citizen of this country, Patrick,
Yes.
I'm thinking the process was followed. So when you come up and say this, then
Andrew.
now I'm thinking if Patrick is right, this cracks through the center, and it's a bit embarrassing then, guys.
Andrew, you need to ask yourself, would fraudsters have titles from 1956?
In their names.
I mean, would you know that in 1956 people were they? I mean, the question would be, how did we get on title?
Yeah.
And we have been on it since 1956.
Yeah.
So if you're transferring a title from Uganda Sports Union in 2024, I mean 2023 really,
Yeah.
and you're saying these people are fraudsters,
No,
does
not
that?
right.
No,
Absolutely.
surely
Yeah.
there is something wrong.
Yeah.
Surely. So you don't have to believe me, but believe in the facts.
Because the question will be,
Yeah.
from whom was the title being transferred?
Yes, and essentially.
And what matter is that was talked about that was on since 2018. Because
is when- yeah.
And
the
there's
minister
actually
does
court
talk about-
orders.
So if you say they're fraud, you can't be dealing. You're saying the other guys are fraudsters,
Yeah,
but
but
you're
then
saying the
you've been
matter
dealing
has
with
been
them
on since
since
2018.
Yeah.
So why are you dealing
We've been
with
dealing with
fraudsters?
fraudsters since 2018.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the
Okay, but then the
minister is saying.
question will be, what is the benefit for the fraudsters?
Yeah.
Why aren't you taking the fraudsters to court?
Okay, so give us a bit of timeline. Then.
Have
So
them
what's going
arrested.
on? Since
So-
we saw that picture breaking the internet,
So, yes.
with Ugandans getting excited, and I think you've slightly talked about it, but give us a full brief again. What has the Uganda Sports Union done since then?
So what we're doing is, of course, the Uganda Sports Union is fighting for its interest because the trustees are vested with the rights to protect the assets of the union in law. So the trustees essentially have geared up to challenge the actions of National Council of Sports in court, and I'm certain you get wind of the filing of a suit. And of course, it's been taken to court essentially. So it's going to be battled out in court, but let it not be painted that it's something to defeat development and all, because if anything, the Uganda Sports Union has given this country value since 1960. So at least be proud of the union.
But many people will be disappointed in case the building of the Kampala Arena stalls because of what is happening. Many are going to blame you and say, you guys stopped this from happening.
But the arena that you have now, who put it up?
Yeah, but they are saying we're tired of it.
No,
We
you're
want a
tired.
new
You
one.
want better, which we agree with. The National Council of Sports can buy land anywhere and put it up, right? I mean, really, do you have to say we must take these people's land by force in order to get the arena up? It's not right.
Patrick, I want us to wrap this up.
Yeah, true.
Because one of the reasons we invited you was to get an official statement, you could say,
True.
from the Uganda Sports Union. And
True.
I think whether you're right or wrong again, we've had your side of the story.
True.
But let's have a feel of a wrap, because there's as well a feeling out there. And maybe before you wrap up, Edwin16 on Twitter, called Mugasha Edwin, is exactly in Tuka Bryan's shoes this evening. He says, Andrew Kabura, the rate at which the lawyer is using words like essential and nefarious and other complicated words is scary. For Aben Nansa and a sports center, we are scared. So Tuka, you're not alone. There are more people out there who are going through a similar situation.
I can simplify
No,
if that is a problem.
I think we've understood it. But as we wrap this
Yeah.
up, there are Ugandans who now are looking at you badly.
Yes, true.
Because we need an arena. Dakar, Kigali, Kampala is our biggest chance. So there are guys who are looking at this, as the minister just said, you guys wait for a big development in town, you show up, you get some money, or for someone into compensation, create a bit of chaos. So there's that line. Then there are guys who are probably property owners in this country as well, and they understand where you're coming from. So you don't have to give us a full detail of where this could end, but what's going to happen moving forward, and maybe reaffirm the fact that the Uganda Sports Union loves sport in this country.
True. No, let's not mix the fact. The Uganda Sports Union was established to support sports and support sportsmen, and we have done that. Yeah. Surely, if anything, you look at that arena and the facilities that are there, they're not the best, but they were the top notch for a very long time. So, if anything, citizens should be proud of what Ugandans put up. Okay? Now, yes, the arena is something we would love to also put up, but essentially, the question is, do you put up the arena by forcefully taking somebody else's land? Okay, is that the right way to go about it? No, don't defeat other people's interest to do that. If they want to put up the arena, come talk to Uganda Sports Union, get Uganda Sports Union's input, and know that this arena will be put up subject to the terms and conditions that best fit the proprietor. Because essentially, you don't get the arena up by illegally, defeating interests of others. So that's just the point.
Yeah.
It's not to fight the development.
Yeah.
If at all we want to put we want to put up world-class facilities there, but we want our land back so that we can do that on our terms.
So between now and then, it's you, the court, and the National Council of Sports.
Well, essentially, I believe if the National Council of Sports, in good faith, loves sports, then they will probably take a step back, recognize where their mistakes were,
Right.
and then probably approach Uganda Sports Union to better plan.
But isn't it already criminal that the title has changed names?
Well, now, since it's a court, it's court to determine
being a
that.
judge now, eh?
Yes, you're becoming
Right.
a judge,
Right.
like they have been, judge, jury, and executioners. So essentially for us, that will be a declaration of court. But yes, definitely the change of title has underpinnings of fraud and illegality, because essentially Uganda Sports Union was not heard.
Yeah.
Despite the screams we made, the caveat emptor, there's a court decision, 2 court decisions actually on record, and none of them were. It's harrowing that the Commissioner of Land Registration and everybody, just including the minister,
Yeah.
probably the minister has no clue about this, but it's harrowing that nobody, looked at all that.
Yeah.
Either it was suppressed and they didn't get to them, but surely
Yeah.
it's not something that I believe anybody would like to kick out due process in order to get the arena up.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Patrick Nasinyama, Secretary, the Uganda Sports Union. We cannot have a discussion bigger than that because it's now a legal discussion. I'm sure it's before court. But for us today, it was important that we have this discussion so that at least someone out there can make a decision. So also we can make sure we have Ugandan sport developing the right way. So I want to thank you very much for passing by. I'm sure we're going to hear more of this discussion, maybe through the next few weeks and the next few months as well. Continue. But there you are. You've had it on NBS Press Box. Tuka, do you want to add anything, or we wrap it right there?
No, that's it. We've gotten everything I think there is. Of course, the battle is still ongoing.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's about to get done. Land issues can take ages, and given how complex this one is, it's going to take some time. I just hope that there's a resolution as soon as possible so that sport benefits in general. Of course, Patrick is talking about Uganda Sports Union being for development. The minister and NCS will say the same. We just hope that something is fixed and real quick so that we have that arena. To be sincere to you, the country needs sports facilities. For a chance to have it, we have to take it.
All right, you're watching NBS Press Box. Let's take our final commercial break. When we come back, we shall give you an update from the English Premier League. Manchester United. United will break our heart one day. What was that? What was that? You go to Luton, you lead 2-0, and then we have to hold our breath for almost 8. What was that? Eh? Teams are winning 6. United, you're struggling at Luton. Anyway, we got 3 points. When we come back, more details.
Brought to you by Dial *165 *3 hash or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.